Hey, Gator Nation, welcome back to the Respect Our Decision podcast. Guys, this is the post Christmas edition. We hope you guys all had a fantastic Christmas holiday. As always, I'm your boy Hirsch. With me, CJ the Man McCann.
What's up, guys?
And as always, the hype man Wes.
What's good, Gator Nation? How you doing?
Yes, sir. Like I said, Gator Nation, hope y'all all had an outstanding holiday. I hope your stockings and tree were filled with Gator gifts or whatever you were looking for. I hope you got it. And you got to spend some great time with your family and friends and loved ones. Guys, as always, make sure you go out there, download us wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you're checking us out on the YouTube channel, and this is maybe your first time coming across this show, guys, drop us a subscribe if you wouldn't mind, man. It helps us out a tremendous deal. And if you've been around a long time, hit the like button on this video, guys. Leave us a comment down below. Tell us what your favorite gift was you got for Christmas in the comments below. Even if you didn't get something, make something up, man. Make up what you wanted to get for Christmas and nobody got it for you. I mean, maybe it was just not a good Christmas in your house, but hopefully it was. Guys, not a whole lot going on. Obviously, we're post early signing day here. Things are kind of slow right now as far as recruiting information. It's the dead period. There's a few offers going out there and whatnot. You know, the portal is still going strong, guys. I know a lot of people were really down early on Billy Napier. Why aren't we offering this guy, or why are we getting this guy in the portal? What is Billy doing? And then, of course, we got some guys. But now, as a lot of people predicted, and I mean, a lot of people were saying this, guys, calm down. There's going to be a lot more people entering the portal as these games get played and whatnot. And so far, it seems to be true. I mean, you see a lot of other names. Georgia's still got guys entering the portal. This team, that team, a lot of mid-major guys are in the portal. So this thing is still going strong, and the Gators are out there, man, especially Coach Will Harris. He's out there offering every daggum DB that enters the portal. He's set up a visit today with Jaden Boysen from where's he from, CJ? Remind me real quick because I'm brain dead.
South Alabama.
South Alabama. That's correct. I knew it was.
But he's originally, I believe, from Crestview, Florida.
Oh, well, there you have it. If you get a chance, go out there and check out this young man's video if you haven't seen it already. This just popped up like an hour or so ago before we got on the air. So I hadn't even had time to do my homework on the young man, but I saw one video posted on Twitter. And that young man looks like a solid safety prospect. And if you watched Florida Gators play football last year, one thing we could absolutely use is all the solid safety prospects we can get. They're still talking to the young man from San Diego State that's committed to UCLA, Radcliffe, about trying to get him in on a visit. It really looks like they're going to shape this thing up to, as soon as this thing opens January 3rd, we're going to get some people in here. And you're going to see the Gators rolling back on that trail now with a coaching staff that looks, that's starting to fill up. Obviously, we lost Bateman. Rest in peace. We haven't been able to speak about this yet. Those of you that have followed us here on this show since day one, hashtag Bateman got us has been the motto of this show, originated on this show. So losing Jay Bateman is a sad day, man, for us here on this show. We can't say Bateman got us anymore. Now he's got Texas A&M. It sucks. And to talk about that for a second before we move on, I know a lot of people were, obviously Ernest Graham made some comments on Twitter the morning that happened. And this is always a topic of great debate when a coach right after signing day takes a job. Well, that's not fair to those kids. He recruited them and then he takes off on them. This is why you should have the transfer portal and this, that, and the other. From all indications, this was a deal that went down after those kids put pen to paper. Texas A&M and Elko had offered him the job previously. He turned it down. They came back offering defensive coordinator position with a much more substantial financial offer, and it just was a point where, Jay Bateman had to say, man, this is too good to put, to turn down. and most coaches want a promotion. Let's be honest about it. You're not, most guys aren't in the job of, I'm good where I'm at. Some dudes do it. We're the lifetime position coach. What's his name over there at Florida State comes to mind. I can't remember.
Odell Haggins.
Odell. Yeah. But hey, props to Jay Bateman. He got his bag. I can't hate him for it, but he agreed to the deal in the AM, whether it be after midnight or very early the next morning, and the Texas A&M media decided they wanted to go ahead and release that story before he could tell his players or recruits. So hopefully, he was able to, or Billy was able to call Ernest Graham and Aaron Childs' family and whatnot and discuss what happened a little bit. But don't always be in a rush to judgment over these situations over what happened. Always try to wait for the details to come out and see what happened before we rush to judgment on something like that. And as you know, now we got a defensive line coach in here, guys. Finally, I know that took a while, and I know a lot of people heard the name of Gerald Chapman and was like, why did this take so long? Well, guys, Gerald Chapman was not the first choice, but that doesn't always mean you don't come out on the good end of the deal. And I know the concerns with Gerald Chapman. As soon as you see the name on paper, you're like, who is this guy from Tulane? Why are we hiring this guy? He's got no recruiting background. He hasn't coached very long anywhere. But dig deeper than that and look at the comments by some of the people that have vouched for this man. Now, I mean, I know there's a graphic going around that had Ed Orgeron on there talking about him and Carlos Dunlap. But Carlos Dunlap came out with a whole nother series of comments about the young man and said, I wouldn't have gotten to 100 sacks if it wasn't for Gerald Chapman. That this guy is that dude. He is really that good. I know several LSU players came out on Twitter saying, Florida got a real one. This guy is a hell of a football coach. So, guys, before we move on, before I move on, I also want to note, Gerald Chapman also has a tremendous background with special teams as well. I don't know if that will come into play with Florida, but it's something to take note of and look at going forward. Wes, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, we've had some time to digest this, to dig into it, to read people's comments. What is your takes now on the young, still very young, 36 years old, Gerald Chapman for the defensive line coach?
Yeah, with Chaos being let go, Chaos was a guy that had a lot of energy. You saw, I think, 2 years ago when he first came with Boone, I'm a dog, and how that we put that out on our Facebook and the environment there. So he was a guy that I felt recruited okay. We all can chronicle the no's that we continue to miss there. But as far as Chapman, the things I want fans to look at and what stuck out to me is I feel like we have a lot of talent on our D-line with Jackson and Boone hopefully coming back and Kersey, but Cersei and Collins as far as the D-line. I'm sorry, some of those guys have similar names. The thing I want now, and this would show he can will help him recruit better, and it's some of the things that Dunlap said, is a technician. That stuck out to me as far as the comments and things that I saw, as far as him teaching guys technique. It's one thing to have talent. As a Washington fan, seeing Chase Young come to Washington and get traded to San Francisco and not do anything, kid has a lot of talent, but his technique is awful. He's not neither one of the Bosa's that came before in Ohio State. So you can have the talent, but my thing is, can you teach these guys to not only excel, because you can dominate on the college level, but what can you teach them as far as going to the NFL? So as far as being as good as Cersei and Collins and these guys may be, can you teach them technique? Can you teach them leverage? Can you teach them different things as far as being violent with their hands when they're fighting with these offensive linemen in the trenches to exponentially push their growth and their what they're capable of doing? And to me, that is what I saw from Coach Chapman in the comments that I love. I want somebody that they're going to be a great teacher. They're going to teach these guys leverage. teach these guys how to work their hands and be violent with their hands, because to me, that's how you're going to win in the SEC, because we recruit well here in the trenches. So I'm happy about that part of from what I saw. I know he's kind of green with recruiting and all that, but that'll work itself out when you're in the state of Florida and guys see that you can put guys in the league. And if our sacks increase and we see our D linemen and we see Cam Jackson in the trenches and we see Cersei and we see Collins and we see Boone and we see Slackman and we see these guys putting pressure on the quarterback, and we see, like, when they make sacks and they make plays, they show replays. And if you can see these guys doing things with their hands, whipping these offensive guards and these tackles and these centers, beating double teams, etc., recruits are going to take notice. So that'll take care of itself. Right now, to me, he has a talented bunch with McCray coming in. I forgot about McCray coming in. When you have a lot of talent on our D line, to me, is about helping these guys reach their potential. And I don't feel like we were doing that with the last two staffs. I feel like I always bring up Jonathan Bullard, because to me, that was our last great interior lineman. 21 tackles for loss back when Jeff Collins was at DC, back when Coach McElwain was here. To me, I need that. I need domination. I need our guys living in the backfield. To me, you got to have a guy that can come in not only to have the talent, but teach the guys the talent. So he'll have time to recruit. That'll work itself out. But right now, he has a talented group. And if he is a great teacher, the recruiting will take care of itself, in my opinion. And that's just me.
I completely agree with you on that take. Before we get to CJ's take on this, I said it in a couple of different places, our Facebook chat being one of them. And guys, if you're not part of our Facebook group and our recruiting chat on Facebook, join our Facebook group, respect our decision, join into the chat, man. We have a great time there talking recruiting and all things Florida football. Shameless plug. Yay, Mick Foley. Mike Pete is doing a really good job to me recruiting on the defensive line. I watched Chaos for a lot of the good we give him miss on every nose tackle he recruited for 2 cycles and get subpar play out of the defensive line. If you can give me a guy to get one of those done right now, I'll take that. Coach these guys up, get good play out of them. And like Wes said, recruiting will take care of itself in that aspect. If you're showing development of the guys on the field, we've seen several guys make comments about not getting developed. The most recent being Chris McClellan when he transferred to Missouri. So yes, I definitely want to see somebody that can coach these guys up. CJ, what's your take on it?
Yeah, when he was announced as the guy to hire, a lot of the pundits and the writers and just personalities weren't super high on it, but like the actual football people, the players, the coaches, really talked highly of the guy. So I tend to usually lean with what the football people think of a guy. Look at his resume; it's solid. It's really good. He's got jobs at a lot of different places, working for the Bengals, working for LSU. And he's got a laundry list of guys that he's worked with that are really talented players. I think he can do a good job. It's again what we talked about, just teaching technique things, add some finesse a little bit. These guys, excuse me, we have a lot of guys with a lot of raw get off. You just absolutely can just get off the line and make plays. They're athletic freaks, but sometimes when you're lining up against another offensive lineman that is also an athletic freak, you've got to have some tricks. You've got to have some things that you can use to get by him. And hopefully that's what Chapman will bring is some of those things to help out guys, move that offensive line around a little bit and get in the backfield. That was the one thing that I think we all can point at and say, as a team, our tackles for loss were low, our sacks were low. Just overall, pressure in the backfield wasn't where you wanted it. You've got to get that. That's, you see the secondary struggle because of it. The secondary had its own issues, but you compound that with a quarterback that has all day to stand in the pocket and throw. It doesn't hit well, excuse me, for your team. So I think that this is a guy that can come in and definitely teach these guys a few things, help develop them a little bit right now. I think this is the most the defensive line room has been in a long time of just absolute athletes, really good football players up front and on the edges. So you've got guys in there. You're still talking about bringing in more guys. We've got a gentleman from Bowling Green. I cannot remember his name at the moment, who's coming in.
I just thought about the same thing.
I want to say his last name is Cassius, but he's a guy that's coming in. He's got 9.5 sacks on the year. Really solid player. I think he was an All MAC player. So if you can get a guy like that in there to add him to the room with guys like Slackman, some of the other players that we've recruited that are younger, really get in there and get some guys that are just gamers. I think this could be really good for the line, really good for their development. You're going to have, if you get these transfers in, you get a good influx of really talented, experienced players with a lot of youth on top of it. So, as far as the defensive line room goes, I think it's at its best that it's been in a long, long, long time. You just got to get the play out of them that I think we all think they're capable of.
Yeah, that young man you were talking about, that's Cassius Howell from Bowling Green. Last year had 9.5 sacks. Another guy that if you go watch his film was very disruptive, had a real good get off on the line of scrimmage. And hey, I'm all for this. Take all these guys you can that have proven at some level that they can get it done. Now I get it. I know you're saying Bowling Green ain't UF, and that's not the SEC. And you're right. It may not translate at all. But football is football in some aspects. You see things in a guy's game that will translate.
Effort.
Yes, effort, motor. I know these are things that also we like to laugh about. Oh, the guy gives he's got a tremendous motor. All those quips about guys that you hear at the combine and stuff like that people like to laugh about. And somewhat it is funny. It is amusing. And sometimes though it's very true, and the film don't lie. I mean, we've seen it with the Joey Slackman take. Some of these guys have what we have not seen from guys at UF in a few years. And that's sad that we haven't. But get those guys in here, man. Get those guys that are hungry, that want to prove themselves at a big level, and develop them. And part of that is going to go into the next staff hire. We're talking about physicality and things of that nature. And that's going to go segue right into the next hire. The Florida Gators have a new head of strength and conditioning, and that is Craig Fitzgerald. If you haven't seen anything about Craig Fitzgerald this week, Craig Fitzgerald originally got his big break into this under Steve Spurrier at South Carolina, who I'm sure played a small part in the recommendation of Mr. Fitzgerald to Billy Napier. But Billy Napier flew up to New York, where he was working with the Giants, had a sit-down interview with him right before Christmas, and by all accounts, the man just blew it out of the water with him. Billy was just really impressed with how much he had to say, what he had to say, and this is after meeting with multiple other people from Notre Dame, Alabama. He didn't just take the first guy. He did interview other candidates for the job and listen to what everyone had to say, and this is the guy that blew him away. And like I said, if you look at his resume, now I know there's some question marks. Obviously, he's with the Giants this year. The Giants have not had a great season. They've had some injuries. So is that to be expected, or is that an outlier? Well, if you look at his history, I think this is more of an outlier.
I will say this, though. Saquon Barkley has had his most healthy season he's had in a very, very long time this year.
I mean, like I said, it could completely be an outlier. It could completely be just by chance. I mean, time tells on this thing, but if you go back and look at the man's history, before he was with the Giants, he was with Tennessee. Before that, he had worked with Bill O'Brien at Penn State and then followed Bill O'Brien to the Texans. So Bill O'Brien must have thought very highly of the man. And from all accounts, and I've seen several people comment in different places about having interactions with the man or knowing people that have had interactions with the man. By all indications, he's very much like Savage was. He's crazy, just a tad bit crazy. And I think if you're one of these strength and conditioning guys, I mean, you got to have a little bit of crazy in you. Hey, you're getting up at crazy hours. I mean, you're in the gym all the time. You're just, I'm not a gym rat, so I can't speak to all of it, but I know plenty of people that are, and I think they're crazy. So, I mean, hey, but look, I don't think there's a single person right now that will argue this point and that a change needed to be made in the strength and conditioning program. We've said it on this show. I'm not even going to go into the injury aspect of things because, once again, I can't sit here and say, well, maybe the thing with the Giants is just, coincidental and sit there and say that the same isn't true with hockey and the injuries, obviously, with the Florida this year. Yeah, it just would be, hypocritical of myself to do so. But what I will say is we watched both lines of scrimmage get dominated. We've watched safeties bounce off of guys. I mean, we've watched just piss poor tackling for years. It's time to get these boys back to a Florida level. You can't look at a video of guys that play for Florida today and look at a guys that played for Florida in 2005, 6, 7, whatever, and say they look the same. To me, they just don't. I mean, those guys look like monsters, and these guys look just average.
Urban Meyer said it a long time ago, and I believe it. And I think we've talked about it on here before as well. The strength coach is one of the most important coaches
Absolutely.
that you have.
He spends more time with the players than anybody.
There you go.
He is your voice. He is the head coach's voice when the head coach can't be there. And that's a lot due to, NCAA rules for whatever good they do. So, CJ, I'm going to start with you on this. I know you always do your homework on guys like this and look at background and stuff like this. What's your take on Craig Fitzgerald?
I will tell you this. Go back and watch the video of him take his shirt off in the rain pregame for
Crazy
Penn State,
man. That's what I was
and
talking
go
about.
absolutely nuts in the middle of a huddle and get these guys hyped up. He's got a good track record. Like I said, the Giants thing is the Giants thing. I understand there are injuries with the Giants this year, but man, a lot of those have been seems like turf related. Especially, you've seen a lot of people get hurt at MetLife this year. Just because of that turf. So I don't know how much of that is on him. I don't think he actually holds the title as strength and conditioning coach in the New York Giants. I think it's something different. So I don't know if he's fully in charge of that. I don't know if he's head of personnel or it's something different than just being the strength and conditioning coach. But as his record goes, as far as a strength and conditioning coach, he's done a great job. South Carolina, for the years that he was there, were some of their best seasons, probably the best period of South Carolina football ever. Tennessee, when he was there, seemed pretty solid for what Tennessee was doing. The Texans were a great football team during the time their early years with Bill O'Brien. And then the season with Penn State with Bill O'Brien, they had a really great year that year to be coming off of, one of the worst sanctions that they'd ever, faced since the SMU days. So the guy is, as a coach, he seems like he's got it together. He seems like the kind of guy that you would want to lead a strength and conditioning program. He looks great. He looks like a guy that knows his stuff. So I think you have to try to make a change because obviously you weren't getting it done with Hogg, and for better or for worse, you just had to make a change there. You've got between just different people within the inside, that aren't crazy about the job he was doing. Some of the coaches weren't crazy about the job he's doing. The players, the parents, it's just, not a good situation for him. And I understand people are mad. Well, why wasn't he fired? There's a lot that goes into why he wasn't fired. A lot of money stuff and things that we don't really want to talk about because they're boring and just, we don't know enough of them to really talk about it. But yeah, I think this is a good change. I think this guy could bring a lot of energy into the room now, as opposed to what it was with a guy like Savage, who was doing the best he could with what he had. Now, all the things at their disposal, they don't really have an excuse anymore. You've got all the equipment, you've got all the rooms, you've got the food. We hired a new nutritionalist.
That was my next point.
That's gonna help out. We'll
Jeff
talk about that in a
Sankall.
minute. So that's another thing, to add on top of that. So you've got to make this change. You've got to make it now. You've got to change some things. Like I said, let's see where we're at in the spring. Let's talk about it then. Let's talk about, after spring training, after spring camps. Let's see how these guys progress. Let's see where it's going. But like I said, right now on paper, it seems like a great hire to me. I like it. I'm sold on it.
Wes, I know you have a take on this because we've discussed it several times over the last, few months about the lines of scrimmage and how we got dominated.
The trenches, I mean, it matters. If it just means more, as the SEC talks about, it means more here. So, and we know what the D lines and offensive lines represent the SEC. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing there, you're going to get whipped. And we talked about Chapman a moment ago, and I know we've chronicled Sale and Stapleton and how we want our offensive line to be better. But if your guys don't have it here up front, then you're going to get whipped. And I don't care how much technique you know, if you don't have the strength to combat. I think CJ was just talking about it. If you facing another beast and you're a beast, then you're going to lose because he's putting the time in. I can remember my senior year in high school, wide receiver. I played DB in high school. His wide receiver like got into me, and I said, "I'll get you next play." Next play, whipped me again. And you know what I said? That's for me missing those summer trips to the high school to get in the weight room. That stuff matters. If you're not there, if your strength coach is not developing you right, I don't care the technique or whatever you're doing. It's like you playing a non-power 5 school when you're Alabama, and then you just the guys look smaller. The guys just look undeveloped and look like a JV squad playing against those big Power 5 schools. So as I said when Hurst was speaking, a quote from Urban Meyer: "This is the most important hire, one of the most important hires that you can make because this coach is spending the time with the players that when the coaches can't, for whatever reason, the NCAA makes that rule, but." Players have to buy in, so hopefully he's a guy that can get the players to buy into what he's doing and get them equipped to do the things that that their bodies allow them to do. It's just bad the way I've seen our offensive line be and our defensive line be with the talent on defense, and just I've never asked our offensive line to be the best in the SEC or a top 5. I just want an average offensive line. You can win with the average offensive line, but I feel like the offensive line was not even average, and to me, is a lot of them getting pushed around. And if they have the strength to combat some of these other guys on the opposing teams as far as strength, then the technique that the coaches can teach will help them as well. But if you get overpowered, and I saw a lot of overpowerment, it wasn't like our offensive line was getting beat straight off because you had T.J. Watt or Joel Bosa doing things with their hands. They were getting bum rushed a lot. You saw against Florida State, one of Sweat, was his name not Sweat, that's the old Florida State DNR. What's his name? How he pushed the doggone left tackle into the quarterback. You know what I mean? That was Verse. That's his name. And to me, you can't have that. You can't get bum rushed. I understand guards sometimes get beat like that, but as a tackle to get beat, pushed all the way back into the quarterback, that's a strength thing. That's a strength thing, and hopefully he can come here and fix those problems and fix those issues and get our trenches to way respectable. Like I said, I'm not asking to be a top 3 offensive line or defensive line. Well, maybe defensive line, yes, but as far as offensive line, I just want an average. You can win with the average offensive line. That's all you were asked for. Just be average and let your quarterback do work. I don't want Mertz dropping back on play action passes. I'm gonna keep saying it until I see change. And we're on the 45-yard line. And when he gets his back dropped, when his right foot hits the back, there's a freaking D lineman in his face, and he's getting killed over and over. Like he had to keep picking himself up this year. So hopefully Mertz, who will love this new strength coach as well, and our offense can be a little bit better, especially for the backs. Montreal, he's the type of back that needs a good offensive line. So hopefully this affects those guys in a good way.
Yeah, and as you know, CJ mentioned, we also hired a new nutritionalist. Now, I know most people don't care one iota about the Florida Gators nutritionalist, and I understand that. For the record, his name is Jake Sankall. He came from the Washington Commanders, where he had been there like the last 6 or 7 seasons. He's been there for a while. He was also the assistant strength and conditioning coach. So you can bet that him and Fitzgerald will be working hand in hand to come up with programs to get these guys on track. Now, I mean, it goes without saying that we've seen several people in the last calendar year that we thought didn't look like they were taking advantage of a nutritionalist and a strength and conditioning program. Cam Jackson. Obviously, Dez is the first guy that comes to mind. I think Dez Watson is a completely different situation altogether. I believe Dez Watson has some personal issues there that go beyond what any coach can do with him. And that's just, that's what it is. And we have to wish Dez the best and hope he can get through that situation that he has with, but it's nice to know that this guy has background in strength and conditioning, and hopefully these guys can work together to come up and formulate the plan that gets the best results in the weight room for these young men and gets our team back to the level of physicality that we are used to for the Gators. So, guys, we got one more topic here we're going to talk about, and it pertains to the coaching staff. And as of we know right now, if you're on Twitter /X, whatever it is, you're on a message board, wherever you go to for your Florida Gator information, there's one hot topic right this minute. And that is Billy going to hire an offensive coordinator? And if he is it going to be Willie Korn from Liberty, or is it going to be Brennan Marion from UNLV? Guys, I don't have that answer for you. I know that I believe a person has been offered the position. That's what I can tell you. I can also tell you that I was told by somebody that knows better than me that it won't be Russ Callaway because Billy doesn't think Russ Callaway is ready for that job yet. You can take that for what it's will. I know CJ's take is it's Russ Callaway until it ain't Russ Callaway. And you're not wrong. You're not. That's not a bad mindset to have, because all you're doing is setting yourself up for disappointment. I understand that, hey, there's a lot of people out there that's like, I'm Team Marion. And there's a lot of people like, oh, I like Willie Korn. And I'm here to tell you, guys, you can be happy with either one, honestly. Now, I understand that some people go watch, I watched UNLV's offense and they did really good. And they do look really good. Absolutely. I've watched some of Liberty's offense. They do look really good. I know some people argue, well, Willie Korn doesn't call plays. Well, he did this season. So that argument's out the window. I mean, I know that it's not technically his offense, that it's Chadwell's, but he knows it like the back of his hand. And most people that have an offense learn that offense from somebody else and then just expanded on it or made improvements. And I watched some interviews today with Willie Korn saying that they, from week to week, they're just expanding and adding and adjusting. And I haven't dove into Coach Marion a whole lot, but I know he's got a great background. He was a wide receiver coach at Texas and did a really good job. And I know he's maybe one of the hottest names on the market right now. So all I'm here to say is, whoever it is, let's just be happy that if and when Billy hires an offensive coordinator, that's one less argument we have to have until we see the offense on the field. And then, we'll critique that as we always do for what it is. There were a lot of people, I'm not going to say I was or wasn't, because I honestly don't remember, that were excited when Kurt Roper got hired once upon a time. But CJ, I'll start with you. What is your take, other than it's Callaway until it's not, about this offensive coordinator situation?
I'm still taking the cop out. That is my take. It is Russ Callaway until it's not Russ Callaway, and that's my opinion on it. I can tell you that why I feel that way, and that might not be the case, but given everything else I've seen and things that have happened, I can understand if we did go that route, because do you really want to make Graham Mertz learn another new offense? Um, you know, it's going to be. I think whatever offensive coordinator we do get, I don't know if they're going to be able to wholesale change the offense that we run. Which leads me to believe it's probably, if we're going with the two, it'd probably be Willie Corn. He's not going to have to come in and absolutely pick up the offense and completely change it around, because him and Billy are friends; they know each other. I don't think he'll do that. I don't think it's in our best interest to do that. I think I think the best idea for an offensive coordinator at this point for us would be to get a guy who can keep enough of it very familiar to not hurt Graham Mertz, but have enough new stuff to help DJ Lagway, if that makes any sense. Let's get some of the more, I don't know, tricky word. It, more of the left open to
Creative.
creative, yeah, left open to interpretation. Let's get those in like a package for DJ Lagway. Let him do that kind of stuff. Let's keep it very straight laced. Let's keep it the way it is for Graham Mertz. Let's not come in and make him learn an entire new playbook again, because I feel like Graham's doing a great job with what he's got. It all hinges on, can the offensive line keep him off its ass? I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's the whole offense. As the offensive line goes, our offense will go. So our offense, believe it or not, isn't as bad as some people would have you believe. I watched Jim McElwain call plays, and we got maybe 10 points a game. This offense is revolutionary. The only problem is some of the situational play calling stuff. You get a new offensive coordinator in to call plays and do some of the situational stuff instead of Billy Napier. That helps Billy Napier. I think that helps the offense look a little better. But the problem with it again is that's one of the things. The other thing is the defense was so bad. If you're giving up 40 a game, it doesn't matter if you score 35. So yeah, I mean, I'm okay with whoever they hire, as long as we don't hire like Nussmeyer or somebody again. Like, there's enough inventive guys out there that you can get now. I think that college football in general, has shifted to more of an offensive game anyway than what it used to be. I feel like you're always going to be able to get production. I think we've got good enough players to get production. I think, again, if you do get a guy who's creative enough to call plays and do some different things and be a little better about his situational play calling, I think that that's going to improve the offense tremendously. So I don't expect it to be Brennan Marion. I think Willie Corn, if you're looking at a new guy from outside that isn't Russ Callaway, I think that Corn is probably the more likely, and I think that's fine. I think that there was a large contingent of people that really liked Willie Corn and thought that he should have been the offensive coordinator even last year or the year before. So I think that would be fine. I just don't. The offensive coordinator, the offense in general, is like the least of my worries outside of the offensive line. I think that's going to be my take on it. I think that I have to trust them to make the right decision here. I don't have another choice. I'm not the one hiring people. So hey, I think the two options that we're looking at, that all of us are looking at, I think are very good. I'd be happy with either one of them, but it's not going to make a hill of beans unless you can fix the offensive line.
All right, Wes. I know that you were very taken with Coach Marion after doing some research on him. What are your take on this whole situation?
Well, Hirsch, to CJ's, I'm gonna piggyback off the last point CJ just made. It really doesn't matter if offensive line can't protect, but maybe that, certain offensive coordinators. I take Kyle Shanahan, and I'll say this about Kyle Shanahan, a former guy that my stupid team let go in the NFL. Um, the 49ers don't have a good offensive line. Only people think about Trent Williams and think they have a great offensive line, but they don't. What you have to do is put the offensive line in great situations, and that's why I said I hope we have an average offensive line to me, we didn't have an average. To me, we were like bottom half of the SEC offensive line. If you have an offensive line that's average, you can substitute and have quick pass and do different things to accommodate their weaknesses, which mean getting the ball out quick and doing things like that. I don't feel like we did enough of that with play action. So maybe this new OC, whoever it is, can do that with our offense. I feel like Graham Mertz being at his age, CJ was talking about a lot as far as learning a new offense. Hopefully, they can institute some things, but I feel like he will be fine because we saw him come in and learn new offense and excel at it. I feel like he's the type of dude. We saw this all past offseason. We read different things about how he's the first guy and the last guy to leave and how he puts the work in, which is why I wanted him back to teach DJ those good practice habits.
I'll add
Go
one
ahead,
thing
Hirsch.
to
I know
that
you
too,
about to say
Wes.
something.
And they added a lot of stuff as the season went on. And the one thing about Graham that always stuck out to me was you never really saw him make any mistakes as far as where he went with the ball and things like that. Like he was very sure of the play. And if somebody ran the wrong route or something like that, he was very quick to let them know, hey, you should have been here. Or you need to break out here. He's very much, like you said, a quick study of the offense and a coach on the field.
The thing that I love about him as well is he's a true. People like to say this is a bad thing, but to me, it's a good. If you can excel at it, to me, Tom Brady was the greatest game manager in the history of football. He was a game manager. He checked the ball down, he threw it away, or he ran. He wasn't like the most athletic dude, but he would get a few yards and slide or get out of bounds. He did those things. He didn't turn the ball over. So
I cannot
him
wait to
being
see the comments about how Wes just compared Tom Brady to Graham Mertz.
no. They'll say that. That's not what I mean. A game manager is not a bad thing. And to me, that's what Graham Mertz was last year for us. Excuse me. He was a game manager. And to me, whatever offense comes in, I don't feel like it'll be that like. And to CJ's point, I would like to see the creative stuff. Like if you're going to do something, the quarterback runs and the creative reverse this with DJ Lagway. That'll be fine. But this will be the perfect time to implement a new offense with your five-star quarterback coming in and having a chance to sit and learn behind a pro. To me, a pro's pro like Graham Mertz. So to me, I would love to see something new, whether it's Corn or Marion. But my preference is Marion because I feel like I don't know, from the things I saw today, and maybe I need to do more research right now, it's Marion, but for me, but I would be happy with Corn. That's not saying I would be, because I'm from South Carolina. Corn is from here. He was a hell of a player in high school when I was here, and he's worked his way up in the coaching ranks. I talked to Hirsch about how I heard about him when I was in school, and how now he's a man, but this kid was like the it in South Carolina as far as quarterback. So before he went to Clemson, and this I'll be happy with both because I want the creativity, and I feel like Corn will give us some creativity. He's running somebody else's offense, so I'm pretty sure there's stuff that he wanted to do that he couldn't do because he didn't have full control. He was calling the plays that maybe Chadwell had for him. So that is something that I want to see from my offense. And CJ alluded to this. It was a lot about situational football and situational play calling for offense this year. Offense wasn't terrible. It was just situational things and getting away from things that were working from us. I don't want to see Trey get 5 touches on the first drive and we don't see Trey again until the fourth quarter. That, to me, is
now you've got to find an offense that gets the most out of all your playmakers.
Exactly.
And you know who these playmakers are. Like, it's not like you look over at 6-7 dudes and be like, well, who do we want to get involved here? I mean, you know Trey Wilson is number 1 next year. He is that guy.
And I'm not saying that the kid from IMG is Trey Wilson. Trey, to me, is going to be one of those guys that's one of one. But the kid from IMG, his speed, I want to see some reverse different screen passes to that kid when he comes in because he has super speed. We saw that. Is it Williams? Not Williams. Williams the one who
Hawkins.
left is Hawkins. Dre Hawkins. That kid has electric speed. I don't want him to get the Trey touches from this past year, but I want to see 2 different plays 2 plays a game where I'm like, oh, he came in and just took a screen pass and did some stupid stuff with it. You know what I mean? That type of stuff created creativity on offense because he's not going to be Trey. Trey's 101, but I just want to see the creativity, whether it's Corn, whether it's Marion on offense, and I don't want to see Trey disappear for 3 quarters. And then when the game is tight, then he drops a pass because he's been cold because he hadn't got a pass since the first drive of the first quarter. That's the stuff I don't want to see. So I'm happy that he's actually looking and he's going to hire OC. That to me also gives him chance to be CEO more and has his hands on other stuff like special teams and other things that has been causing problems in the program.
Guys, I just want to preface this. It might not be either one of these guys. And you know, as CJ says, but and there's something else that comes into play with this that we haven't talked about is, and I don't know this for a fact on Corn, but I've heard some things about Marion is he would want to bring people with him. And a lot of offensive coordinators have that state of mind. I might want to bring my own offensive line coach or my own wide receiver coach, what have you not. And I mean, that might not be an option here. I would kind of hope it would be because, like we said, we'd like to see a change on the offensive line. I don't think anybody would be terribly unhappy about that. I like Billy Gonzalez, but I wouldn't be upset to see Billy Gonzalez maybe go to Coastal Carolina and take that offensive coordinator position and coach his son for a year or so and then be put out to pasture. There's options here that people aren't really thinking about. Their mindset is just get in an offensive coordinator and let's go. We don't have games next week. We don't have a game anytime soon. So the offensive coordinator is a position you don't have to rush on other than trying to beat out other teams for a guy's services. But both guys have been spoken to. Now it's just a matter of, you know, what is Billy Napier? Who does Billy Napier want to hitch his career to? Because in a lot of ways, that's what we're at right now. I mean, next year is a make or break year for Billy Napier's head coaching, you know, career. He's either going to come out, win 6-7+ games and keep his job for another year. And then we get to move on to the DJ Lagway, you know, chapter of the story, or he's going to be stubborn. He's not going to make some changes that we all kind of feel like he needs to make. I mean, I've already seen him make some. Do I feel like that's everything we need to see? Absolutely not. Do I think the jury is out? Obviously. I mean, we said a lot of great things about Gerald Chapman. That doesn't mean it's going to translate to on the field success. We really like what we see out of Will Harris as a recruiter and what his resume says. That doesn't mean it's going to translate to success. I mean, these guys got to hit the ground running like their feet are on fire because guess what? They are. There is no time for like, oh, it's a process to get this guy ready. He'll be ready in a couple of years. You might not be coaching any of these guys after this year. So you need to come in and coach like all your jobs depend on it because they do. And Billy Napier has to make decisions like his job depends on it because it does. It seems like he's doing so. I like the moves he's made. I really like the strength and conditioning move. That was one of my biggest gripes at the end of the season was I needed Mark Hockey out of my program because I know for a fact from people I've spoken to, the players did not like Mark Hockey, and it caused dissension on the team. It caused a morale problem with the team where kids were like, I might not be here next year if this guy's still here. A lot of people were like, it's just a strength and conditioning coach. Like we said, that guy spends more time with these kids than anybody does. And if they don't like you in this day and age of the transfer portal, something that simple might be what makes a guy go, you know what? That offer from so-and-so school looks really good right about now. I've talked to their players. They really like their strength and conditioning program and coordinator. So I'm going to head on down the road. I don't have to deal with this because they don't have to deal with it anymore. There's nothing keeping them here. Does it kind of suck? I know a lot of us old school folks are like, man, that's terrible. If I don't like a guy at my job, I can't just walk on out and go to another one. I mean, you kind of can, but it's a risk. These kids don't have that risk so much. You know, if you're good, there's a lot of we've seen it this week. We've seen it with Trevor Etienne. He's at UGA. Does that suck? Yes. I really wanted us to give our thoughts on that situation, but the more I thought about it, there are no thoughts to give. It sucks. It sucks all the way around. There's nothing good to say, and I knew nothing good would come out of it. So I said, you know what? We'll shelve that because I know no one has anything good to say about it. It sucks to see, and I know Wes hates this, to see Chris McClellan head on over to Missouri to play football instead of being at Florida. But, you know, these are the consequences for, you know, back-to-back losing seasons and kids not buying into what you're selling. So you got to light it on fire, Billy. I mean, that's all there is to it, or else, you know, it's going to get lit on fire another way that you're not going to like. All right, boys, that's all we got for this week, man. We're going to keep our eyes and ears to the ground this week. There should be, you know, we might have news by this time next week on an offensive coordinator. Like I said, we're going to have visits coming up. I think real soon we're going to have a lot more guys linked to the Gators through the transfer portal, so we'll keep an eye on that. We got the Zay Mincy decision on January 6th. So we're going to have to monitor that, and maybe something leaks out before then. I hope not for the kid's sake. I mean, you know, it's a special moment for him, and I never want that ruined. But, I mean, you know, the recruiting class for 2024 is not closed yet. We got kids still we're talking to that might sign in the first week of February. So we'll just continue to monitor, and we'll update you as we hear stuff on that. CJ, do you have anything to add before we jump out of here?
No, just thank you guys so much for supporting us as creators. We thank you for all the support on the Facebook page that we've been having. The chat, you know, is very active, and we appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for the YouTube success. You guys have done a great job with your likes and your comments and your subscriptions. We really appreciate that. Check us out on the Twitter page. That's where most of our updates happen. If anything happens, you know, newsworthy, we'll retweet an article or repost something or make an announcement ourselves. So keep up with us over there. Check out our friends with Alma Mater. Use our link. Helps us out a ton. Helps them out a ton. I know Christmas is over, but hey, man, you know, it's always a good time. You know, everybody's got birthdays. Everybody's got you know, your New Year's resolution could be to buy more Gator merch. I don't know if that's possible for some of us, but you know, that's something they can help you out with. So use our link for that. That, you know, helps us out a ton. But thank you guys so much. You know, I understand things aren't perfect right now, but you know, it's you know, we're in the holiday season. We saw a lot of you guys. You know, I don't. You guys gotta spend some time with your families. You gotta do something to help yourself out at this point, because you can't do this all the way up until
This
next
is the
August.
season of joy.
You know, we can't do
There's
this
not
all
a
the way
whole
up
lot of
until
joy in
August,
Gator
man.
Nation right now.
If you can't go out, can't go touch grass and pound sand, I don't really care. But this is we can't do this till August, guys. Let's try to keep a positive note. You guys do a great job of that in the chat. It's pretty generally pretty positive in there. You know, as positive as I don't want you to be unrealistic or you know, delusional, but you know, try to keep a happier lookout, especially as we start into the new year. Make that your New Year's resolution to kind of keep a little more of a positive attitude towards things. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And like I said, just help us make this, you know, going into the third year now. Make it a great one for us too. We really appreciate you guys and all you've done for us.
Absolutely, we do. Wes, take us home.
Yeah, again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. You guys be safe this weekend. I know it's New Year's and a lot of stuff is going to be going on. So just be safe. Shout out to our troops as always. Again, a lot of you may, hopefully, if you watching, we do have people that watch and listen overseas. So thank you guys for your service. I know it's kind of hard not being with your family, but we support you. We thank you for what you do as always. It is time for optimism. We want changes, so we're getting a lot of changes, and hopefully that can springboard us in. And we have the best quarterback in the class that's coming up. So hopefully Billy Napier can have a 75, 84 season to be able to coach that guy, which means the program is doing well and we're on the up and up. So that's what my New Year's resolution is I can be a happy Gator fan even though we may be 75 and 84 next year. I would love that to be happy next year. So, as always, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby. Have a good, happy, safe New Year.